going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Viall Files. I am your host, Nick, joined by the wonderful women in my life on this team, the Viall Files, Chrissy, Amanda, Allie, all with us. And we have another wonderful woman as our guest today, Jackelyn Shultz. She is Howie Mandel's daughter, and she's also a big Bachelor fan. We interview her father, Howie Mandel, on Wednesday. It's a fantastic episode. Be sure to check that out. Super fun, funny, insightful. We talk about all things from mental health to comedy to the climate in the world today. I had a ton of fun talking to Howie, and I'm sure you'll have a ton of fun listening. But Jackelyn helps us break down Matt's episode of Fantasy Suites, which was, I thought, a great episode. And we dive into all those things and why. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we enjoyed talking about it. Don't forget to send in your questions at asknick@castme.com, cast with a K, for our Ask Nick episodes. We have a great one out today already, or came out yesterday. Be sure to check that out. And what else? We got some merch available at viallfiles.com. Let's get to Jackelyn Shultz and Matt James's Fantasy Suite shenanigans. Jackelyn, how are you? Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. I am a huge fan. I am so excited to be here. I was actually really nervous. I'm still kind of nervous.
Nothing nervous to be about. We're just talking about The Bachelor.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
Actually,
with an expert though. That's
not true. I actually, of all the shows that we do, it's this show that gives me the most anxiety. So what the fuck am I talking about? I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah.
Is that real?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I can spit out relationship advice or do an interview, like even with your dad. I mean, I got nervous talking to your dad, but like Bachelor Nation, it's like watching football. If you say something about someone's team that they don't like, they get real mad. And,
they're on you.
Yeah, they're on you. So with that being said, just relax and tell us exactly what you think, Jackelyn, at the risk of offending everyone. No, it'll be fun.
Yeah. Also, how fun that your episode comes out before your dad's.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So do people know who I am? You keep mentioning my dad. Do people know?
We'll have done it. We've done an intro and tell them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. We'll also introduce your dad as the father of Jackelyn Shultz. So.
That makes me so excited because I normally get left out. You know, we have a podcast called Howie Does Stuff. Nowhere in there does it say my name. I am the co-host. I am completely left out. So I'm glad that he is now introduced as Jackelyn Shultz's dad.
If you want to come on our Ask Nick and talk about like your feelings and your relationship with your father, like it would be probably really a really good episode.
Yes. Can we do that?
Yeah, I'm down. But seriously, thank you for coming. I always like to start these off by just getting your thoughts on the season as a whole before we talk about the specific episode, and who have been your favorites, and what were you looking forward to coming into this episode?
That's so many questions all in one. Can I be completely honest with you though?
Sure.
So I'm a huge fan of Bachelor and Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise, but I am a mom, and specifically during quarantine and lockdown, my kids they've been in the house 24/7. So this is the first time where I haven't been able to watch the season religiously like I usually do. So when I found out I was doing your show, I literally watched the whole season in 2 days. I watched the whole season over this weekend. And this is the only time that I was able to be like, don't bother mommy, she's working, and then go into my room and watch reality television for 18 hours straight. So I am so excited and ready to talk about this season because it is amazing. Like the twists and turns of this season were incredible. And I am shocked that I didn't watch it sooner, but I love Michelle. I am like a huge fan of Michelle. Number one, she's a teacher and I'm a teacher. So already off the bat, I'm like, go for it. She is the one.
She's your girl. So
she is my girl.
Are you overall, you like Michelle? She's obviously part of the top three. Are you generally happy with Matt's top three, or would you have had a different top three for Matt or for yourself? I like to ask both.
It's hard to say because I understand Matt's top 3. I mean, I really like Brie. Also, I understand it. Going through and watching the whole season and seeing his connections with these girls and what they were talking about and stuff like that, I understand his choices. So who am I to say that it was a wrong choice or a bad choice when, you know, all of that played out and they were having those kind of conversations? And he obviously didn't make as strong of connections with other girls.
I feel like there's a button there. If you weren't going to totally respect Matt's choice, would you have picked a different one for yourself?
Okay, this is going to be controversial.
All right, great.
Katie. I like Katie.
Oh, she likes Katie.
I like that she stands up for like what's right. And I know that she participated a little bit in the bullying and got caught up in it, but I like that she turned it around right away and she like tried to find common ground with some of the girls that were being mistreated. And I like that she stayed true to herself. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Katie's and I don't think she was given the time of day.
By who? Matt?
Yeah, by Matt. And I also love Abigail.
Well, they're definitely both sweet. I'm sure Matt gave them the time of day. I think Matt just wasn't that into him, and I think that's okay.
What's sad, though, is that the viewers get to see a lot of the not behind the scenes, but what's going on in the house and stuff and who these people are. And I wonder how much Matt got to see of this before the episodes aired and if it would have changed his mind at all.
Yeah, well, to answer that question, it often depends, right? He's certainly aware of some of it, but there's a lot he doesn't get to see, right? There's a lot that every lead or bachelor or bachelorette doesn't get to see, especially like the interviews everyone's doing about their dates with Matt or the cattiness that's going on in the house or the fights themselves. He's not watching that. So a lot of it he gets to learn. He might hear about it. Right, he might be like updated on it, but he doesn't really get to see it firsthand. But like a lot of that stuff has really nothing to do with Matt's relationships either, right? Like that's just relationships between the women in the house. So it's not even relative to necessarily Matt's relationship. I mean, while we like Katie and she's charming, nothing I saw from Katie would make me feel confident saying Matt should pick Katie for Matt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see that she has good qualities, and I can see why people might be like her, but I can also see like maybe Matt's just not that into her, you know?
Okay, maybe I'm just picking her as a friend.
Yeah,
so
she was picking her for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
I pick
my
Abigail
choice
for me.
Okay, I like Abigail. Number one, my daughter's name is Abby. I go with like these connections that I have with these girls, but I love Abigail. And I feel like that could have been one of Matt's picks. And he said himself that he was so confident in their relationship off the bat that he kind of wrote it out and he didn't give her the time of day. He said that, and he went to other girls to strengthen their relationships because he already felt confident in that one. And then in turn, they didn't get to like go further, right? Isn't that kind of what he said to her?
So he definitely said that. I don't buy it. I don't fault Matt. I mean, you have to come up with nice things to say other than I'm just not into you. And yeah, she got the first impression rose, and I've never seen someone who get the first impression. Well, I mean, the past two first impression roses, the one that Tayshia gave, what's his name? It doesn't matter. We all forgot about him. And then Spencer. And then Abigail, like some weak performances by first impression rose people. I mean, I love Abigail, but like, I think Matt I think he was really, and rightfully so, taken back that she is deaf and her story, and that's very touching, and he was very impressed by her. And then, but when it came down to like who are your top 4 or 5 women that you're interested in pursuing a relationship, I don't think Abigail was ever on that list.
Okay, so
because
it sounds
she would have got an early date if she was.
It sounds like you're gonna play devil's advocate with me no matter what I say.
Do you think that? No, I'm just giving you my take on what I know about the show.
No, I know. You know more than I do because you've actually experienced it. I'm just saying, like as a viewer who has no prior knowledge of what goes on behind the scenes or anything, and just based off watching those, Katie is my pick as a friend, and Abigail, I thought may have had a chance if he gave her more time.
I would have liked to see Abigail get a one-on-one, but I think Matt was never going to be into her. Is my guess.
That is harsh.
Why?
I don't know. I just think that's harsh.
But
he was into her. He was into her off the bat. You're calling Matt a liar.
And that I'm calling Matt more of he chose to try to say the nice thing, which probably wasn't the most honest thing. But in some cases, especially when you're the Bachelor, I think that's okay.
Okay.
But yeah. So we have, regardless of what you and I think, Matt's choices are Rachel, Bree, and Michelle. The episode starts off with Matt having a conversation with his dad, which for me was one of the heaviest and maybe most authentic conversations I remember on this show. Ever. I almost feel uncomfortable like having any takes on this because I can't relate to Matt's experience. I've always had... I've been fortunate enough to have the relationship I had with my parents. I can only just try to empathize with Matt, right, in terms of his experience and recognize that how hard that must have been. And I thought Matt really, in such a difficult situation, really stood out to me and handled it, that situation, which must have been really difficult, with a lot of grace and compassion for his dad. While at the same time expressing his feelings and was so vulnerable to the audience.
Yeah. And I think that although I as well cannot relate because I come from parents who have been together forever, like incredibly long, and I've always had a loving and supportive relationship. But I know that situation is super relatable to a lot of people, a lot of kids. There's a lot of people that go through that. And so I think being able to touch on that, not only for his own growth and not only for the growth of his possible relationships in the future, but also to touch on that and that be a huge part of the story, just in general for other people to see, I think was a big deal.
It was touching. It was emotional. It had the first... where's this going to go? How's Matt's dad going to react? And then there was a nice positive turn. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I think there's a lot of people out there that will connect to that conversation Matt had with his dad. And maybe there'll be some people who reach out to either their sons and daughters or fathers or mothers that they've lost touch. And I give Matt a lot of credit for being willing to have that conversation and being okay with the producers to invite Matt's dad to have that conversation and being so vulnerable. Props to Matt for doing that.
Do you think his dad knew?
That's what I was going to say. I wonder.
Because his dad came across as like, my favorite line of that whole conversation was, if we were here to celebrate, we'd be at Chuck E. Cheese. That was like my favorite line that Matt said to his dad. But his dad was like, I'm here to celebrate. Do you think his dad knew?
Do I think his dad knew what Matt wanted to talk about?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he was fully read in. I'm totally guessing here that I think Matt knew. I think they okayed it with Matt. I know they okayed it with Matt to invite his dad. And then my guess is, I don't know what conversations they had with his dad, but they're just like, Matt wanted to talk to you and about this kind of, he's going through this experience, he's fallen in love, and he mentioned that this is the relationship you have or don't have with them, and he wants to chat. My guess is they probably left it at that.
I wonder if Matt even knew off the bat coming on to the show that this was a conversation that he was going to have later on, or if it just hit him at the end of the show or not at the end, even in the middle, like, hey, this is a conversation that I need to have before I move forward. And it was decided then.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know if Matt suggested it to the producers or if the producers suggested it to Matt. Like, hey, would you be open to having this conversation with your dad? Or if maybe Matt said, hey, listen, what if we had my dad? You know, I mean, being in that atmosphere, whether you're a Bachelor person or you're a cast, it is a crazy fucked up type of therapy. And maybe therapy is the wrong word because I don't know if it's always productive, but you do a lot of self-reflecting. You do a lot of internal investigation about your feelings in your life. You're constantly just talking about your feelings, and it really allows you to open up in ways you never have before. So I can imagine Matt going through this experience and then thinking, you know what? I want to talk to my dad, you know, because it really allows you to start opening up in ways you haven't before. And you've seen this from Matt, right? Matt has been so good and gracious with his vulnerability to the audience. And you've seen this kind of evolution from Matt of someone who's so open about not being open, someone who's like admits that he has been closed off. And that's not always easy for people to admit, but he's really embraced that. And he's done a good job of being vulnerable. And you're seeing this growth with Matt as a man, which I find to be really endearing. And I'm really grateful that he's been willing to do that. 3 things I love: hard seltzers, vitamin C, and antioxidants. I'm being serious.
Convenient.
Why are you laughing? I'm being serious.
Because it's so convenient.
I love vitamin C. I love I can't even pronounce antioxidants. They all come in one from Vizzy. When the shit like this happens, I get so excited because it makes my life so easy. Vizzy is the first hard seltzer crafted with antioxidant vitamin C. Can you believe it? I can't. Extracted from an kick-ass cherry, a super fruit with 30 times more vitamin C per cup than an orange. I gotta say, there's a lot of things in this world that get too much credit they don't deserve, and oranges are one of them when it comes to vitamin C. If I gotta say, there is a talentless thing, and I love oranges and orange juice, but I don't rely on that for my vitamin C. That is credit. Oranges they get way too much credit. Anywho, I digress. Pineapple, mango, black cherry, lime, strawberry, kiwi, blueberry, pomegranate are just a few of their delicious flavors to choose from. So it's delicious, again, and it's always nice to have a nice, refreshing drink that doesn't have a shit ton of sugar and has some health benefits like vitamin C and antioxidants. In April, they're launching their hard lemonade, so look out for that. Ooh, baby. Get some delicious Vizzy. Upgrade your hard seltzer today with Vizzy. To find out where you can purchase Vizzy, Vizzy, go to VizzyHardSeltzer.com. That's VIZZYHARD seltzer.com/VIALL. That's, again, VIZZYHardSeltzer.com/VIALL. Must be 21 years or older. Hey. Good news, spring and summer are around the corner for all you cold climate people out there in the Midwest or the East Coast. I know it doesn't feel like that, but it's going to come fast. And when it comes, you're going to want some amazing outdoor furniture. An Article is going to meet those needs for you like never before. Article's new outdoor collection is here. Shop 3 fresh looks that feature their laid-back elegance of our loungers and sectionals, refined design of solid teak dining sets, and decor highlighted by bold pops of color. A trio of inspiration. Make your outdoor space one that's going to be awesome, and it'll be hard to beat. Brag, show off to all your neighbors. Be like, oh my God, your place sucks because you don't have Article, and I do. Article combines the curation of a boutique furniture store with the comfort and simplicity of shopping online. Article's team of designers focuses on beauty, crafted pieces, quality materials, and durable construction. And plus, they cut out the middleman, so their prices are fair. That's right, save up to 30% over traditional retail prices. Article is able to keep those prices low, like I said, by cutting out that middleman. Just cut them right out. We don't need them. Fast, affordable shipping is available across the U.S. and Canada and is free on orders over $999. All in-stock items are delivered within 2 weeks or less. Article is offering our listeners $50 off their first purchase of $100 or more. Go to article.com/VIALL and the discount will be automatically applied at checkout. That's article.com/VIALL to get $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more.
I agree. I thought it was great to watch. And I thought it was great also that he took that time and that opportunity to tell each one of the girls the conversation he had, because that's super meaningful.
It's crazy because in that world, you are taking such a leap of faith, right? You have, no matter what, it's a guessing game. And I've kind of joked, but it's like at the end of the day, sometimes it is the person you're most physically attracted to because that's what there's no questions there for you. You know that you're physically attracted to, and then you kind of hope that the other things that you're connected with are or in fact, what you're noticing, what you see, and that the things that you don't get to learn, you hope there's no red flags underneath there. So Matt being vulnerable about, his lack of a relationship with his father has affected his past relationships, and he's had this conversation, and he's just letting them know the things that he's insecure about. We don't always get to see on this show people being so open about their insecurities. We get to see the attempt sometimes in previous seasons, and sometimes it's just harder to know what that is. But Matt's been really open about these insecurities, and I think that allows these women to really get to know Matt, because it's through those insecurities that I think we are able to kind of peel back those layers past, how hot you think someone is. And
I've noticed a lot more lately, like as the seasons go on, each season, it seems like people are opening up a lot more. I don't know if it's just the culture and the environment we're in where there isn't really a stigma necessarily attached, or it's being torn off of whether it's mental health issues or anything that's holding you back. Like there's just a stigma that's kind of being erased as we go on in life. And I see that in The Bachelor too. They've been more and more open every season. Like it's been progressively getting better. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't know if I've actually thought that, but you're right. I mean, I think there's a lot going on in Bachelor Nation. And I've always said that ultimately what this show is in a lot of ways is a reflection of our society, right? I mean, this show, people always have these conversations about what makes The Bachelor as popular as it is, right? Why has it been so sustainable over, so many years? And I've always, because love is the most relatable thing, which is why you can have, people on, both sides of the political aisle, men, women, gay, straight, like everyone who watches that show can relate to the vulnerability and the embarrassment of falling in love, right? Whether you have mental health struggles or you don't have mental health struggles, everyone relates to that. And so, as our society moves forward, it's reflected on the show. And you make a great point. Your dad, when he talked about mental health and how when he first started talking about how fearful he was of what people would think of him, acknowledging he had these mental health struggles. And now it's people like your dad or people just being more open about it, talking about therapy, I think gives people who go on the show the confidence to say, I struggle with anxiety. These are my insecurities. I've talked to a therapist, or, I've faced depression and things like that. And you're right. I don't know if 10 years ago anyone would have the confidence to do that.
Right. And even the situation with Matt and saying that was a issue that he had or something he needed to get through, or a conversation with his dad. I don't even know 10 years ago if they would have been talking about that either. That's something that they would have felt like they wanted to bring up on national television. So I think it is progressing.
I remember in my early 20s, someone once told me, don't tell your employer if you've ever gone to therapy, because it will be like on your public record, or like it would be like this thing where you'd be labeled as, I don't know, mentally unstable or something. Even if you wanted to talk to a therapist on a breakup, I remember someone being like, you shouldn't tell anyone about that, because people would identify you a certain way. And just think and now people are on national television talking about it.
Therapy and mental health has obviously been a huge part of my life because of my dad, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I know you guys asked me to be in studio. I don't leave my house. Like that is why I am trapped in the closet. But I go to therapy, and I've been to therapy like my whole life. And I remember the same thing. When I first started going to therapy, they were like, do you want it on your health insurance? Because then it could be public and people can find out. And I was like, what? Like, who cares? It's never been embedded in my brain because of my family and because of my dad and my upbringing that it was an issue. But I know that in society, and even more so a while ago, or maybe not even that long ago, 5-10 years ago, that it would have been an issue. Yeah. Like you're saying.
Yeah. And so, I think it has evolved and they have progressed. And I think a lot of it has to do with our culture, our society embracing mental health, and advocates like your dad for saying therapy is a good thing. It's nothing. We should wear it with a badge of honor, not a scarlet letter, so to speak. So props to Matt for that conversation with his dad. And just in general, I think Matt has been, I don't know what your thoughts are, Jackelyn, but I think Matt has been an exceptional bachelor, especially when I consider all the obstacles he's had to go through. He's had no experience in this crazy world leading up to it. It's all been new to him. obviously being the first Black Bachelor, and then you add on some of this, outside the filming and things he's had to deal with. He's really handled it very well, and it's an incredibly hard position for anyone to be in, and Matt's had other challenges to face that no one else has had to face, or at least not in a while, especially this being his first experience, and he's done a really great job. I don't know, do you have anything to add to that?
I love Matt. I only have one issue with Matt, and that's the kissing with the eyes open. But that's my only issue with Matt. And other than
a hot button topic,
I think he's doing a great job, and he does like his skinny jeans a lot.
I'm breaking away from skinny jeans. I'm definitely.
I'm so proud of you for that, by the way.
I'm definitely still an offender, but Matt's are particularly. I even said, I was watching, I was like, damn, those are skinny. I mean, again, he's got a body that really. And I have meaty thighs too, so some meaty thigh people.
I have meaty thighs.
Sometimes really, they make those skinny jeans extra skinny, so to speak. Yeah. But also, my only other criticism of Matt, I guess, is that when Matt dances, he doesn't dance; he just does a TikTok.
He does It's
that's not dancing, Matt. You're doing a TikTok. There's a difference. Maybe that's the direction our society is going. That we're gonna go when bars open up. And you go to a dance club, it's just going to be a bunch of people doing TikTok routines and not actually moving their hips.
But are we not going to talk about him walking with the women behind them?
Oh yeah. One more point of criticism for Matt, since we're piling on after giving him a bunch of.
We're we don't have any issues. Just wait.
Matt's limited in his dating experience. He's been open about that, and nothing shows that more than way he walks with the women. Like he's in middle school, where you do that kind of wrap around, where you try to walk as one, you only did that in middle school, maybe freshman year of high school, but Matt still does that for some reason.
I have a feeling though, as a woman, it actually feels good. Like you want that. Also, he's really tall and really big, and a lot of these women are shorter. It's kind of like my husband and I'm 5'3" and he's 6'6". So I like the big, huge bear hug from behind. It looks weird. It does look weird, but I'm telling you,
but it feels safe.
Feels good.
but I don't. The hugging I get, but do you guys walk that way?
I don't care. I like it.
Okay.
If I was a girl, I would like it. On television, it looks weird. In person, it probably feels great.
It looks like on TV, it's like that, when the toddler puts their feet on the person and then they walk together. That's what it looks like on TV.
It's I get it. We're excited, But.
I'm surprised. He is obviously a TikTok person. He knows the TikTok dances, that he's still wearing skinny jeans, because apparently, according to TikTok, you are not supposed to wear a side part, which is why I have changed to a middle part. And you are also not supposed to wear skinny jeans anymore. But I don't know if that only applies to women.
I'm unsure as well, and I definitely want to be someone that, regardless of my age, wants to be with the trends, but I don't need to necessarily be a leader. I don't mind. Okay. I even the jeans I'm wearing now are actually called dad jeans because they're not skinny jeans, but I'm
still stuck on meaty thighs.
Yeah.
I've always struggled with meaty thighs.
You and Ryan Serhant. Ryan Serhant is the best. Meaty thighs.
I have a big booty and meaty thighs, and sometimes with skinny jeans, I'm just I'm a 32 waist, but it's tight in the thighs. And
meaty thighs.
I don't know.
Okay.
So Matt too has meaty thighs.
Yes.
So after Matt's dad and him talk, the dating commences. I don't know what your thoughts are, Jackelyn, but as someone who's has been on the show on both sides, has had a handful of fantasy suite dates, I am blown away. What seems to be the new normal, and this new normal started on Peter's season when did you watch Peter's season?
Yes.
So Madison, who it was unclear. Well, I guess she was a virgin or she was saving herself from marriage, but sex and whether Pete was going to have it with anyone else was a big part of that conversation. And it seemed like an active decision by the producers to say, well, let's really lean into this awkwardness. And instead of separating the women after hometowns, like has been always the playbook, for every season up until that. We're like, no, we're going to put them in the same room and we're going to make them live together during the most awkward part of the season. And we thought, okay, maybe this is a one-off situation because of, this conversation that's going on. And then the pandemic happens, right? And then you kind of like, you know what? Hey, fuck it. Let's just keep doing this. And they did it with Tayshia's season, and now they're continuing to do this with Matt's season. And I got to say, while great TV, it's so fucked up.
Yeah, I had to say as a viewer, and this might sound bad, but as a viewer, I love it because I love the drama that's involved in it. As a human being and as a person who feels for these girls, like it is heartbreaking to watch what they are going through. Like just being on this show in general is probably like a mind fuck in itself. And then being in that situation where you're literally watching girls and like girl after girl, multiple girls, 2 girls come in after they've just had a slumber party with your man that you're in love with is crazy to me. I wouldn't be able to do it.
No, it's even worse than you can even imagine as a viewer, as someone who's lived through that experience. I remember both the times I was on The Bachelorette, I had the first fantasy suite dates, right? So then you're kind of unaware of the schedule. After the first time I did it, I knew there was always a day off, right? So then the second time I went through it, I could kind of in my mind guess what was going on or the dates that were going on. I remember being up all night, be like, I know she's with so-and-so. And I couldn't sleep, right? And I still, it wasn't in my face, right? Now you add to the fact that like, they have to watch them come in, smiles on their faces, and then they talk about it and they're using like phrases like, well, it was just really, I don't know, memorable, and it's just like, you don't want to ask the questions, but you want to ask the questions. And then like, for example, like I think it was a Breeze date where she had the fireworks. All those women, they saw those fireworks.
Rachel had the fireworks.
Was it Rachel? Okay, so Rachel had the fireworks. And so like Bree and Michelle, they fucking saw those fireworks. You know what I'm saying? Like they saw those fireworks and they knew that Matt was with another girl. Well, I guess at that point they knew it was Rachel, right? And that's just, it's so in your face and incredibly hard. I think all the women handled it as well as they could. They made a lot of Rachel struggling with it. But like, I don't fault Rachel for acknowledging that this is hard, right?
I know a lot of people say like, well, you knew what was going to happen going into this and you signed up for it. I don't think anyone probably, and you can tell me because you've been on, but like, I don't think anyone signs up for it knowing the feelings that they are going to have.
Correct.
Even on the first day or the first night or like down the road, if you so happen to be one of the final 3, you have no idea what that is actually going to be like and entail and look like for you. So I don't think anyone is really prepared. So it's kind of unfair when people are like, you knew you signed up for it.
I hate it when people say that. And thank you for saying that for someone who hasn't been on a show, who hasn't been a fan, to have the self-awareness to say that, because it is very frustrating. It's the equivalent of space travel, right? You could go to NASA, they could go through all this training, they can go through all these simulations, they can tell you what to expect, but until you're in fucking space, chances are you're going to be like, holy shit, this is crazy. I guess I'm more prepared than I thought I was, but you're going to deal with some shit when you're in space for the first time. And that's kind of what this crazy world is like. Nothing really prepares you. You can tell yourself, I know he's going to go on dates with other women. But you don't know how you're going to feel. You're always skeptical of how in love you think you're going to be. You're just like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll like the guy, but I'll be level-headed. Like, it won't be the same as real life. And then you go in that world and you're more in love than you ever felt before because it's intensified. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, it's cool. Like, please, it's your turn. It's fucked up and wild, and nothing truly prepares you for it. Just like nothing prepares you for outer space. I think that's a pretty fair comparison.
Thank goodness it was these 3 girls though. And so far what I've seen is the girls tried to be relatively respectful. Could you imagine if Victoria was there as one of the final 3 and then she walked back in after her date, what she would have said?
Am I a terrible person for wishing we could have seen that.
No, as a viewer, you're not a terrible person, but like that would have been
my dream fantasy suite date would be Sarah from episode 1, Victoria, and Piper. One thing we learned about Piper is Piper doesn't know how to be emotional, and when she does, she doesn't know how to handle her emotions, because what we heard from Piper is like emotions and feelings are something she's literally never felt ever. Yeah. So you combine that with like having Matt walk in or having Victoria walk in, and then you combine Sarah, that would have been fucking awesome. That would have been my dream fantasy suite date if I only wanted to watch Toxic Energy, which sometimes I guess maybe I do.
I'm trying to remember Sarah. Can you please? Sorry, I am so bad with names. Can you remind me?
Sarah was had the first one-on-one who, very traditionally beautiful, was bullied out of the house. Matt was really into early on. She seemed at least on TV a bit unstable with her emotions as well, and so
the reason why I like Katie. She is the reason why I like Katie.
Yes. So yeah, Sarah, Victoria, and Piper would have been an absolute dynamite fantasy suite episode. Yeah, but I digress. But there's probably a good reason why we didn't have that. So anyways, we finally get to the actual dates themselves. Michelle, again, I totally agree with you, Jackelyn. I mean, every time she speaks or she's on the camera, she's just a breath of fresh air. Like she gives you hope for humanity, that when you have, she's the reason Michelle exists is to balance out the reasons why Victoria exists, right? Because if you have a Victoria in this world, you need someone like Michelle to be like, you know what, the world is going to be okay. We have people like Michelle.
Well, and not only that, her kids, her students being on the show and talking to Matt and everything, I just thought it's so telling with who she is. It's so telling of what kind of person she is. I mean, you don't really know when like families come, because they're always going to put their best foot, well, maybe not, but like they'll put their best foot forward and speak highly of their kids. You don't really know who that person is, but kids don't lie. So like to have students up there saying that Michelle is wonderful and she's a great teacher and she inspires them and stuff, that is so telling with what kind of person she actually is. I love her.
Yeah, no, she is great. And she doesn't speak in platitudes, right? It's very easy in that world to be like, I want someone who makes me a better person. And, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. There's a lot of platitudes that are spoken in Bachelor world. And it's hard because you get nervous. You don't know what to say. You want to say the right thing. You're afraid of being criticized. But Michelle always says thoughtful things. Like I loved it when she challenged Matt and says, what are you going to do to make sure that you're still falling in love, to keep love going, right? I'm not so worried about to stay in love, right? And I love that. Like I thought that was really great. That was a thoughtful thought, and it's something that she wanted to hear from Matt. She turned it on Matt, and we're getting into a situation where it's not just like, I'm just happy to be here. You're beautiful, Matt. Thank you for picking me. You're getting, the women are now speaking up on what they need out of relationships. If they're going to, accept a proposal, we're starting to hear from them. And Michelle's really good at articulating and saying, what she needs. And it's always said with such elegance. And it's been really fun to watch her. I'm really still mad the producers waited till episode 4 to bring her on.
Really? Do you think it would have been any different if she came earlier?
That's a great question. We would have been able to see a little bit, but you're right. She probably wouldn't have gotten a ton of airtime. There's a lot of conversations on with the Bachelor community about airtime and what it means, and people are gypped. And I'm always just like, hey, sometimes airtime is not a good thing. I mean, if you get airtime in the first 5 episodes, chances are you're not going to love it, right? If you're dominating the screen in the first 5 episodes, almost certainly no one thinks you're awesome. Like once there's exceptions to that a few times, right? Katie is an exception of someone who kind of evened out some of the cattiness, but you don't want to shine in the first 4 episodes. You want to shine later on.
You kind of want to straddle that line, right? Like you don't want to shine because it's usually not for the right reasons, but then you also don't want to fall back to like, who was that person? You watch The Women Tell All and you're like, wait, that person was on the season and you don't even remember them. You kind of want to be somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah. I mean, early on, that's why like you saw like Rachel as an example of early on, I mean, other than like crying when Matt prayed or maybe a few times she cried, but she wasn't really talked about. She was just there. Once in a while they would show like a thought from Rachel, or she'd get a rose, but she didn't get a ton of airtime early on, right? And that's typically how it happens. Like, you get to know the drama early on, and then you get to know, even like Matt, right? It's a different season because we didn't get to know Matt on The Bachelorette, right? And so, as we usually do all these other seasons. But The Bachelor, the way The Bachelorette and The Bachelor, it's The Bachelor's about getting to know the women or the men if it's The Bachelorette. And like maybe later in the season, we get to once again get reminded of who our Bachelor and Bachelorette is, right? It's different with Matt because we didn't get to watch him. But, like this episode, I feel like we learned more about Matt than the entire other, 8 episodes, right? Because we were just too busy watching Victoria being a mess.
The only time it was a positive thing to be center of attention was Dale, right?
For Dale? Well,
because he won. He went home.
Even that's debatable,
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, are Claire and Dale back together?
They're in Florida.
Yeah.
They're living it
together.
up.
Okay.
They're living it up in Florida.
So, yeah, I guess currently, as of, Monday morning, it's a positive thing. Things change quickly. It's definitely not the norm. But, also, what did you think about the, would you want to be soaked in oatmeal and butter?
No. That was like the weirdest thing. First of all, they walk into there. You can tell me, but they walk into there and they see a bath of like white crap, right? And they see like a bucket of mush shit, like whatever it is. How do they know what it is? And how do they know what they're supposed to do? Is there a producer telling them it's milk? It's cool. You can get in it. Like I would never go into a room and see a huge bathtub full of white stuff and be like, yeah, I'm going to take off my clothes and jump in.
Yes, there's some direction. I'm sure like before every date starts, the producers are going to Matt saying, all right, here's what you're doing. Yeah. They kind of give him the beats of the date, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, they're not, clearly there's camera people around, you're watching it. So it's not as if they're like completely lost.
I also saw them like slapping each other with those leaves, right? Now I'm going to call out my dad here. And he is probably going to be so mad at me when I'm telling this story. But he told me, I think it's like a Jewish tradition, but he used to go with his dad when he was little and go to this like spa with his dad and his friends. And they would go into the sauna when he was like a little boy, and they would all like slap him with those grape leaves, or I don't know what they are. What are they? Do you know what I'm talking? Is there anyone who's Jewish here who knows what I'm talking about? So this sounds really weird, but that's what it reminded me of. Sorry, Dad. You're going to have to go on and explain yourself now because I just called you out and it sounds like horrible and weird, but it's not. He told me this story and that's what it reminded me of. But how do you know you even take those leaves and like slap it on the other person's naked skin?
But I just know that it's hard for me to relax. I wouldn't be able to relax and be massaged with butter or cream or milk or oatmeal. Like... It's just, I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe I've never done it, but it seemed weird to like.
There's a lot of things that seem weird though. A lot of dates that seem weird. Like even the tantric yoga, right? That we watched previously was super weird and uncomfortable. And I love that she even said that too. I think a lot of the time people just go with the flow and they're like, I want to seem like I'm adventurous and I go with the flow. No, like it's weird.
Yeah. Well, it's a TV show. So
yeah.
Like the dates aren't that like people are like, oh, it must be so great to fall in love on these super hyped up romantic dates. I'm like, no, they're terrible. Like the dates that I like the most are when they're like, oh, we're just gonna go walk around Dublin. Okay, because that's like the most normal shit you can do, right? Everything else was like hang gliding, parasailing, bungee jumping, helicopter rides, lukewarm hot tubs in the middle of nowhere. Like that is not. Like, it's all weird, and it doesn't advance relationships at all, but, it's fun to watch.
Except for the carnival. The carnival was awesome.
What carnival?
Wasn't there
With
like
Piper. With Piper.
Yeah, with Piper.
Oh,
the
yeah.
carnival in the middle of the woods. I thought that was like an awesome date. That would have been my favorite date.
Anything that replicates like normal life is the best type of date. And I guess a carnival, would replicate that. It's just like lower production in terms of like the activities. The more activities you have to do, the less romantic it is. The less time you have to like just hang out and talk. Like a lot of people will say Bree's date, be like, oh, Bree, she keeps getting these outdoor dates and like poor Bree. I actually disagree. Whether Bree's a camper or not, she's just walking in the woods with a guy she likes. And I can promise you like that allows you to connect far faster and far better than like, let's say there was this like highly produced, activity that was cool and neat. And maybe she's never done it before, but like there's a lot of, safety training courses and, other people involved, like skydiving, fun, hard to fall in love. I'd rather walk through the woods than skydive.
No, I disagree with that. I disagree with the skydiving one. I think that was a good choice because of adrenaline. It like the serotonin levels make you have this connection, even if you're not with the person necessarily.
But you can't talk to them.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's a shared experience.
I agree with that, but it's there's no foundation.
Okay.
And Bree's walking through the woods, talking to Matt about God knows what, because they were probably walking for a while, right? We didn't only get to see a few minutes of it, but like they probably talked about mundane things that are not interesting for us, the viewer, to hear. But like they literally got to talk and connect and just got to know each other as people. And so, it's funny as a viewer, you watch it and you're just like, oh, that would have sucked. But like a lot of those dates that seem really boring and really ordinary are the ones the people like actually trying to fall in love appreciate the most.
But Bree got sent home and Rachel didn't after the skydiving. And he said part of the reason was because of the skydiving and feeling like he could have lost her. What would life have been like without
I
Rachel?
think Matt's just has the hots for Rachel.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I don't say that as a criticism. I think there's an intangible connection that Matt has with Rachel that just, as long as Rachel, tries to connect with Matt, it's hard to leapfrog ahead of someone that the other person has like what they feel like is an intangible connection, And so nothing would have changed that. And so in Matt's head, he's just like, yeah, skydiving, it really helped me fall in love, but deep down it's just she was probably the front runner from beginning. Like as soon as she came out of the limo, Rachel, it was Rachel's to lose, and she hasn't lost it yet. Right. And people have lost it in the past, but Rachel hasn't in terms of Matt's eyes. So yeah, but Bree, I mean, I like Bree as much as I like Rachel. She's just a breath of fresh air. This more than anyone, I think Bree isn't meant for this world, and I mean that as a compliment to Bree, is that she seems to be the most out of place in this very delusional, crazy world that is Bachelor world, and I really empathize with her willingness to really get out of her comfort zone. That you can tell this has been a real struggle for her to just, say that she's in love and kind of goes through the normal beats that are it's like, oh, it's fantasy suite dates. So just so you know, Bree, everyone says they're in love this episode. And I believe that she believes it, but you can tell she is not delusional. Like she might be like, she has chosen to like accept this crazy world. I don't think she is totally unaware of how nutty it is. And I really empathize with her and her willingness to go there. I
like Bree. I think you're right. She's a breath of fresh air. She's really relatable. She's also super soft-spoken and not like loud and out there. I like her too. Yeah. She was one of my favorites. Was it Rachel that said, she came from parents that were together and didn't have the same experience, but she feels his experience. Was it Michelle?
It was Michelle.
But her experience is just as valuable as Matt's experience. So I think also having those opposing experiences to bring together and then make a healthy relationship, possibly in Matt's mind, was also really important. You know, like, I don't know what he was thinking, but maybe that's part of it too. Like, he wanted someone from both ends of the spectrum that maybe didn't go through what he went through to bring their knowledge to the relationship.
Totally. I mean, Bree even mentioned, I think, on their first date that up into this point, she has actively, her friends and other romantic partners, she almost sought out friends who had those relationships with their parents as a way to like have it herself, right? Mm-hmm. And I think people do it all the time. So, again, it certainly allowed them to relate to each other, but it doesn't mean it's going to make them connect to one another. And for Matt, he obviously seems more connected. Not obvious, but he ended up being more connected to Michelle and Rachel. I mean, to me, it was pretty clear once Michelle got the first rose that Bree was going home. I wanted Rachel to get the first rose for like 30 more seconds of suspense, because to me, they took all the suspense out of it by giving Michelle the first rose, because I really didn't know going into that rose ceremony if it was going to be Michelle or Bree going home. I thought I would, if you had asked me, I would have said Michelle's staying, but I wasn't totally sure. You've
probably mentioned this before. I'm sure you have. But how long are they actually waiting for them to call their name? Like, how long is that suspense in real time? It seems like forever.
When it's down to 20, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Depending, I mean, other things have happened where people have been, pulled people aside, but normally, a few seconds. It feels like an eternity.
I was thinking it was like Deal or No Deal. Like, before, my dad always said, like, open the case. It was literally 2 minutes of suspense of just getting like audience reaction and the contestants' reaction and stuff like that before they finally open the case.
Yeah. Before we ended, we would just touch on Rachel's date with Matt. I thought, I mean, listen, like Rachel probably got the last one because she was Matt's favorite, and then Rachel seemed to express. She was the one most open about the struggle of Matt spending the night with other women. They all seemed to struggle, but Rachel talked about the most. So, like, of course, she's the one who's going to have to watch all the other ones go through it more. Mm-hmm. But I want to give Rachel props that I thought she handled it pretty well. Like, she expressed herself. You could tell it was bugging her, but she didn't gaslight Matt for it. She tried to empathize with Matt. She tried to say, I know this is nuts. I know I know I signed up for it, but I'm still struggling with it. And so I just want to give props to her. I also thought the pottery date was kind of, because they really leaned into like the disconnect. I mean, if no other date speaks to how powerful the soundtrack is to like give you a certain feeling, it was that date. Go back and watch that date. Put it on mute and go to Spotify and Google like romance fairy tale, like generic music, and play it over Matt and Rachel kind of awkwardly looking at each other while they're shitty at pottery, because the music was suspenseful. And so every time they looked at each other, it looked like, it was suspenseful, and it looked like they couldn't possibly make good pottery because they haven't, resolved this issue. And then, well, of course, once they resolve the issue, perfect pottery.
Pottery.
It's like, but like,
oh my God,
it's all silly and ridiculous. But
if that was like never in a movie, it would have never been a thing that was sexy.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Like, when did pottery become like, that's so hot, let's go do pottery together? Like,
yeah. I mean, Ghost keeps on paying dividends, but go back and watch it. Go back and put it on mute, because they're not saying anything. It's just looks, right? So you're not missing any dialogue. You're just hearing a very suspenseful soundtrack. Turn off that soundtrack, put on another soundtrack, and in that moment, it will look like Matt and Rachel are falling in love, just because it's different music.
Just put the Ghost music on it.
Yeah. Go ahead and put,
I mean, that's the same for like a lot of the different scenes. Like, even when she was walking up, it was suspenseful music, and you're like, oh, you can tell like she's really having a hard time.
Like, what's wrong with Rachel? Yeah.
She's just walking up. Like, do you walk with like a huge cheesy smile on your face all the time? No, you walk like a normal person, which is probably what she was doing. Yeah. But and you're absolutely right. Just some dates show that more, because they weren't talking. They were just sitting there, and they just showed them looking at each other from moment to moment and being shitty at pottery.
and then you throw in some like suspenseful music, and you're like, wow, these people need to talk, otherwise we're not going to get any good pottery.
Yeah.
And then they do, and there's romantic music and good. It was just like it's the power of the mind and the power of music is really, truly amazing. But they did talk. They made good pottery, and they probably made sweet love to boot. And congratulations.
That was amazing. I actually didn't even think about that, but now I do want to go back and watch that scene again.
Do it. It's wild just how different it feels. So yeah, we that's pretty much the episode. We got Michelle, we got Rachel, Bree. I think we'll be okay. I really felt for her. It was really sad. I don't know. As far as Matt's breakup skills, I guess he's as good as anyone. He's super nice. He definitely throws in the thanks for telling me, which is the kiss of death if you're hearing that from Matt. Thanks for sharing is nothing you want to hear.
Sharing.
Yeah.
I never want Matt to thank me for sharing anything ever.
Yeah. Yeah. If he ever comes on your or when he's on your podcast and he says thanks for sharing, you're not doing a good job.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I know Matt's not falling in love with me if he thanks me for sharing. Any predictions?
Yeah, I think it's Rachel.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's Rachel.
Well,
I mean,
Michelle so
I
bad.
want it to be Michelle, but
you're right.
I think it's Rachel.
Yeah, and
what are your predictions? Did you make one before?
I think it's been Rachel for a while, and
Yeah.
I think Michelle's great. I know Rachel's been under fire, but as someone who's been in Matt's position, it gets frustrating when people tell you who they think is better for you. You know what I'm saying? Like Michelle might be great. We might, like, listen, Matt and Michelle look like they'd be just amazing parents together, right? They look like, I want to see the family they create because they just look like they would be great parents, like you see that, right? You see that maturity, you see the way they vibe. And I don't know if Matt does pick Rachel, if they will work out or whatever, but like that's who Matt likes. And if that's who Matt likes, I think, good for Matt. And it doesn't mean if things don't work out with Rachel, that doesn't mean, the history of the show, have we ever had, other than Peter say with Kelly, but that wasn't even his runner-up, have we ever had a lead break up with their choice and then have a successful relationship with someone they broke up with? I don't think that's ever happened.
I just think that Matt seems like, I obviously don't know him, a really good, nice, genuine person. And I get the same sense and vibe from Michelle, that she's just a really good, nice, genuine, down-to-earth person. So that is why I was hopeful that it would be her. I just don't think it is.
But maybe it's a good thing they don't end up together, because I was actually out. My friends Ashley and Jared, who you may know of, Jackelyn, from the show. It was Ashley's birthday, and so we went to dinner. It was my girlfriend Natalie, Jared, and Ashley. And something similar than that Jared and my girlfriend Natalie have is they're so overtly nice, and they're so good at showing gratitude. They're so good at thanking people for everything, and really they're so good at letting people know how grateful they are for like bringing water to their table. Like, I thank people, but they're just so good at it. And we were talking last night that like those two, like I need the Natalie in my life, and Ashley needs the Jared to like be those are the people who help us balance out. I look at the things that Natalie does and think, what a great reminder for me to challenge myself to do that. And there's things that, I challenge Natalie and vice versa. So maybe Matt and Michelle are better off being separate, because they will be that person in that relationship to be that thoughtful and genuine person. And maybe it'll be wasted on each other, because sometimes we need to have partners who like challenge us and not be exactly the same. I'm just saying, I don't know. It could be.
I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe opposites attract, and
I'm totally wrong.
I'm going to say you're wrong. I don't think that just because two people are nice, that means that it's wasted on each other.
I don't mean nice. I think I'm a nice person, but like, it's Natalie's nicer, she's just more thoughtful.
Okay.
And she reminds me when I need to be more thoughtful, when I don't realize it, when I realize I could be more thoughtful than I don't know. Maybe I'm not making any sense. But
no, I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying, maybe just because we see it doesn't mean they would be perfect together.
Can I ask you, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but can I ask you about the rumors that Matt is now with Heather Martin? And your thoughts on it?
I've never heard that rumor.
Oh, I can talk about this. I'm up to date. On this.
Okay, so there is
without knowing anything, I would bet everything I own that it's untrue.
Well, hold on. I am all up in these like TikTok conspiracy theories. So here is the deal. And I will tell you what they are saying. I have no intel. Obviously, I don't know anything. But they said that him and Heather Martin posted a picture and they tagged their location, and they were both in San Clemente at the same time when they were posting. He doesn't live in San Clemente. So what is he doing there at the same time as her? The other thing they were saying is that she was on the Women Tell All and they cut her out, and you can see the back of her head and they cut her out of it. Why would they cut her out?
Because
such a conspiracy theory.
Because she's was boring TV. That's one option. It could be, again, airtime. People like look. Maybe Heather. I don't know this to be true, but it's entirely possible, and I know it's happened in the past, that them editing something out was a favor of the person they edited out. Not all airtime is good time. I'm just saying. So like, Heather had a bad beat. She was highly criticized by both the women and Bachelor Nation for showing up. If it weren't for the women being so mean to Heather, she would have been crucified by Bachelor Nation for showing up in a minivan like a week before hometowns. And maybe she had nothing to say. I will tell you, a part of the reason why Heather was edited out that I know to be a fact is that when it was aired, when it was filmed, because Heather was such a big moment, Heather didn't start Heather wasn't part of the Heather wasn't sitting with the rest of the women when the episode started, right? They actually brought Heather out, as they sometimes do, saying, hey, Heather wasn't a part of the show, let's bring Heather out. So they did that, right? They did that when they filmed it. And then it ended up being kind of like a nothing moment. Like Heather didn't, I don't know what was said, but it was deemed not that entertaining. So they didn't know what to do. So if they're going to edit that out, they didn't show that segment, right? And Heather wasn't sitting with the other women for the first, probably few hours of them recording it. And that's why, not because if Matt was with her, why wouldn't you want to air Heather and give her more airtime?
Because they didn't want to give it away. Hold on. And then,
okay.
and then she posted something about her clothing line, and Matt's mom commented and gushed about it. Why would Matt's mom even care about Heather?
But also, can't they just like her and Hannah are friends?
Yeah.
And then she went and did this. Can't they just all be hanging out in San Clemente together and
exactly.
they just all know each other now?
Can't Matt feel bad that Heather, as a nice guy and a friend to Hannah who's friends with Heather, just want to like throw her a bone and support her clothing line? And can't Matt's mom support Heather without those two being together?
Yes, that is very, very possible. I am just telling you that I love TikTok and I am all up in this conspiracy theory business, and I'm telling you what's going on. I don't know if it's true, but I'm letting you in on like the gossip that's going on.
Maybe I don't know. You probably don't have the time because you have your podcast with your dad and you are a parent, but maybe we could start a new segment with you, or maybe it could be bullshit TikTok Bachelor conspiracies that we debunk each season. Because like with Peter's season, he was dating the producer, and I was like, why is he always hanging out with the producer? I'm like, because that's her job. Like, it's her job to follow Peter wherever she goes and make sure Peter doesn't get himself in a mess.
Can we call it busting Bachelor bullshit?
Sure.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm down, but I'm just going to let you know that you're the one debunking it, and I am standing firmly behind these conspiracy theories.
Do you want to believe it, or do you believe it?
I love conspiracy theories and gossip for the same reason I love The Bachelor and Bachelorette. It's entertaining. It is so entertaining. So I don't know. It might be wrong.
Who knows? One of these days, maybe one of these conspiracies will prove to be right. But I'm pretty certain Heather and Matt is not going to be the first one to be proven correct.
No, it's going to be the men with meaty thighs.
Yeah.
right.
Jackelyn, thank you so much for doing this. It was a ton of fun. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me on. So I'm holding you to it. Me and you are now business partners, and we have a spin-off podcast.
Debunking Bachelor.
Howie's going to be like, thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
Well, if we
That's
do,
how you're going to get your name on the podcast.
Yeah, I
Be
will
like,
say it, Jackelyn. If we
Nick
end up,
offered me my own.
if we start this new podcast, I promise you will be part of your name will be in it.
Thank you. We'll be besties, Bachelor besties. And maybe we can, is there any way that you can ask the audience or they could comment somewhere if they want this? Because I'm pretty sure the answer would be yes.
I get in a fight with my audience often because I find conspiracy theories in general to be destructive and a waste of time and a distraction to the real things going on. But you're not the only one, Jackelyn, who loves a good conspiracy theory and will fight hard to prove it's right, only for it to like not get any oxygen. But they'll agree with you more than they'll agree with me.
Only ones that aren't harmful. I'm not talking about crazy conspiracy theories.
No,
Let's stick to Bachelor, Bachelorette.
and most of those are harmless. Some of them not. Yeah. They can be harmful to the people involved. It just gets stressful.
Okay.
You know, but
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little sensitive for my peers who have to constantly get asked these questions and
See how nice you are? You think you're not the nice one. You are two nice people do match.
I'm not. No. You have to be nice at your core. I'm just talking about like Jared. When Jared's so nice that when you're at a table, and so thoughtful that when a waiter brings 4 waters for the people at a table, each time they set the water down, he says thank you for each glass of water. He doesn't wait for that waiter to be done and give one thankful. It's thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's Jared, and that will always be Jared, and that's also Natalie. Too much for me. I feel like that's just like a little too much, and somewhere in the middle is probably the right answer, but I just think it's good to have those people. But 2 of those people, oh my God, it's exhausting. In the same relationship?
So just 2 thank yous, 2 glasses. 2 thank yous is enough for you.
Yeah. Do you need 4 thank yous?
I don't know. I'm that person too. I'm the thank you person, so...
And
yes.
and it's great to have you in this world. But
all right, well,
it just I'm not, I don't know. Maybe you need 4 thank yous. I don't know. This has been a ton of fun, Jackelyn. We should do this again.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
You are so very welcome. See, 1, you're welcome to your 4 thank yous. That's how I roll. Can you remind the people, as we will again on Wednesday, where they can find your new podcast that's coming up? I'm assuming where all podcasts are living, but if they want to follow you on social as well, where can they find you?
So we have Howie Mandel Does Stuff. You could go subscribe now so that you're notified when it is out.
And write a review saying how excited you are to hear this podcast.
Yeah.
Because that does matter. It is helpful.
And then you can find me on all my socials at Jackelyn Shultz.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks so much for listening. We thank Jackelyn for her time. Make sure to go follow her, subscribe to her and her dad's podcast, Howie Mandel Does Stuff. If you want to hear more Howie Mandel, we have a really great episode with him on Wednesday. Super fun, super helpful, thoughtful. It covered all the bases. It was a really... a dream come true for me. I mean, I was much of I'm a big fan of your dad's. I always have been since I was a kid. Bobby's World really shaped my life, as did Little Monsters. One of my favorites.
2 good ones.
And they hold up. So be sure to check that out. And that comes out tomorrow for all you Tuesday listeners out there. And if there's nothing else, have a great day.